Hello everyone, it's your host, friend, your boy, Jet Black, the one and only, another exciting video. And in this video, I am going to be hanging out with you guys. This is my daily interactive stream. I need to share this with people. So I will go ahead and start sharing this across my socials. If you're new here, hello. I'm Jet Black, the one and only. Some people call me Nick. I don't really go by Nick that much anymore. Even people at my job call me Jet, and some people don't even know what my actual name is. I like to create stuff. I've been making things since I was a wee lad, as they say. And AI has been like a big like passion project thing for me. I just got a professional AI certification because a lot of the AI stuff that I do is more of like a hobbyist thing. I do want it to be more of a career path, so I now have my first professional certification from Microsoft. I'm going to be pursuing more of those over the next few days. I'm hoping to like get multiple under my belt. The first one was a 4-hour course. I took it in a little over an hour. I immediately skipped to the final exam portion and just took the exam, but they have a bunch of mandatory videos that you have to watch. So I had to watch all those videos. So that was a thing. Right now, I'm just typing in come join the live stream. I'm going to share that across my socials so that people know what's up. Because I think it's very easy for people to not know that I am actively streaming. It looks like there was a new OpenClaw update that hit on Twitter. So I might talk about that. If you weren't here for yesterday's stream, I think I probably went into a little bit the fact that my OpenClaw essentially poo-pooed on itself after the big update that happened like a day ago. So that was particularly annoying for me. So I've been trying to find a way to do the things I used to do with my OpenClaw by taking the scripts that my OpenClaw made that it would run during automations and simply making those scripts more front and facing for a user to just interact with and use. For example, I have a wiki where I keep track of all my dream journal entries, and I update the wiki using my OpenClaw agent. But the OpenClaw agent is just using a series of scripts that it created to go through each part of the process. So I made a wrapper that makes it easy for me to just run the script with an alias from the terminal. So it's still a fully automated process. It's just instead of telling my agent, hey, go do a thing, I just type in dream pipeline and hit enter, and then it does the whole dream pipeline. So that's neat. I got a notification on Substack. Herdly app liked my post, abandon or embrace. I don't do a lot of like readings of my Substack post. Let me know if that's something that you all would be interested in seeing in the future, because I do post on Substack. I have a massive streak of over 150 weeks of posting on Substack, and I'm proud of my Substack. I have paid subscribers where I get paid regularly from people on there. I don't even have paid subscribers on here on YouTube. And on YouTube, I have over 4,000 subscribers. On Substack, I only have like a little over 20 something subscribers. So I'm excited that there are people who believe in the work that I'm doing on the blog and want to help financially support it. And maybe I'm doing a disservice to the blog by not showing off some of my pieces on these live streams. Just let me know if that's something that you think would be cool. And I'd be more than happy to show stuff in the future. But I'm not done promoting the live stream on different socials. I need to post on Discord. Normally, Rap King joins me within the live chat, and we talk. Rap King has a lot of great questions, but I know that he is working today, so he won't be able to join in. But that's fine. I have ideas for things to show you guys and for us to interact with. Plus, yesterday I got into a good rhythm where I was looking at news on Twitter. Discord's being weird. Like where it's like not even loading for me to be able to share a link. It's just showing me like a weird screen of just the Discord head icon. I think Discord was the most important one to share to. So I have a Discord channel that is very specifically for this YouTube channel. So I was hoping to just go to my Discord channel and post this link so that people there could see that I'm live. Okay. I don't know. Maybe there's an issue with Discord. It is saying connection problems. Let us know. But I don't have an internet connection issue. I can see my router from here. So I don't have any weird blinking lights that say that like the connection's off and I'm live streaming. Yeah. If I was having connection issues, I imagine I wouldn't actually be able to maintain a stream. So I don't really think that's an issue. It's just it being all wonk wonk. But in the meantime, while it's being all wonk wonk, I'll share with you what I've been working on. So earlier, while I was taking that AI certification course, I came up with an idea for a character. It just randomly popped up in my head. I have a lot of dreams that involve non-human characters, and often in my dreams, they're a were something. So in this case, there's like a were frog. I haven't had a dream about this particular were frog character, but I don't know. I was just sitting around, and then suddenly I popped into my head. Poop! This little like frog guy. So I decided to create an image of the frog, and then I wanted to see what he would look like on like a concept art sheet. And this was neat, like what it made, but I wanted to see the character from different like poses and expressions and emotions. So I did concept art where it did like a character rotation, and then the character's different expressions. I really like this one where he's thinking. That almost seems like a little emoji that you could use in like a chat or something. And then I wanted to see him in different like action poses. So there's like a talking head that you could use for like dialogue scenes. Here's him leaping into battle. Here's him running, and here's him in like a kind of defensive battle pose. I originally tried to give him a big wooden shield, but I felt like that kind of went against his style because I imagine him channeling this blue energy, which is what he uses in order to summon his sword. Which I guess I haven't actually made a video yet of him doing that. So in this first image of him, he has this like very fantastical background behind him. And when I like created him, I didn't originally envision this world that it created for him. So I'm like, oh, there's actually like a really cool backdrop for him. I want to see just the backdrop. So I had it generate just that background. I do think it's really pretty. It kind of illustrates this like ancient ruin. You can tell there's like an overgrown temple, and there's like an aurora in the sky that almost looks like a portal to some other world. Again, that's like another thing that I could play with like future generations and stuff. So then I made this video. I'm not the biggest fan of the video, only because when he lifts his hand, he suddenly has a bunch of petals in his hand. I do like that when he lifts his hand up, the petals like unfurl out of his hand. I think that's cool. So really, I like this beginning. I think if you having the petals instead of the petals just suddenly being there, maybe it would look a little bit better to me. But I do think this is nice. The idea of it is nice. I think I could do a better take of that. I tried a few different video generations where it was making him like a CGI frog, and I didn't like the video generations themselves, but I liked some of these individual frames, so I decided to save those frames. It took me a while, but I finally got one of him leaping across lily pads that I really liked. It wasn't this one though. I just haven't deleted this one yet. I'll delete that one now. I saved some of those frames from the cherry blossom one because I do think that one was pretty good. I wouldn't mind, I guess, playing with the cherry blossom thing real quick. So let's take him with the blossoms in hand and take him scattering the blossoms like in the wind. Meditating, he looks at a clump of cherry blossoms in his palm. He raises his hand as a breeze blows the petals away. I'll just say away. I was trying to figure out like the best way I wanted to say it. Beautiful, calming, peaceful, serene. Very redundant, but I'm trying to like set a mood with it. I think that should go pretty smoothly, in all honesty. When you get a good like start and end frame, it can really change the process, because when you're just going off of the reference art, it can get some things right, but it'll mess up other things. This one where he's leaping across the lily pads, I think I only got it so well because I was able to use this leaping frame as like a starting frame. I was able to use this landing frame as an ending frame. And it made what I think is a really smooth animation. The only thing that's weird is the background kind of shifts near the end, but I think you kind of have to be a little anal to notice that. But I think this one is like fairly solid, just showing him like running around. It does seem like he does a little surface tension hop, where some of the footfalls are not on lily pads, they're like on the water. But I don't mind that. I actually think there are some frogs that can use the surface tension of the water to leap off of the water. But overall, I think this is actually like a pretty good generation. I could see me putting that in something. Okay, let's see. This is interesting because he just kind of goes and just like scatters them. He does it very slowly. I don't hate it. It just seems fascinating. Like it's playful the way that he does it. I was imagining more he lifts his hand and then the wind comes in and kind of like scatters it. But he does kind of make it rain a little bit. He lifts his hand up and he goes, and it kind of just animates out. That's pretty. I don't hate that at all. I could probably do more with the world, but I need to figure out how I want to approach that. So let's change to images. Let's do a wide image. Let's take in the background specifically. Okay. Create, reimagine this landscape to resemble how it appeared before the dimensional vortex opened in the sky and before the temple became an overgrown ruin. So effectively, we're recontextualizing this landscape to, instead of maybe having always been this way, to have once been like a normal stone temple in a forest with like a normal sky that doesn't have like a big portal in the air. And I think that'll be like a neat way to play around with it. Yeah, so we have a more solid like before time. I think it still kind of looks like a ruin a little bit, just the way that the stone is structured. So let me address that. Make the temple, I guess you can say the stone temple, look fairly new. It should look less like a ruin and more like a freshly built structure. Because I think it still is giving ruin vibes, even without the overgrowth. It's the way that this like pillar is isolated over here. It makes you feel like there was something there at some point in the past. Like that looks incomplete. And these parts of it look like cracked and broken. But I feel like if we're going back in time, they shouldn't look cracked and broken. It should look like new. I don't really think it changed much between those two generations, if anything at all. I think the temple does look more white, I suppose, but it looks damaged still. It doesn't stop me necessarily from doing the thing that I want to do, though. So I'm not entirely against how it's set up. So we'll work with what we have for our taps. So we're going to switch to video, ingredients, 9x16, and we're going to start with the new temple. Oh, not ingredients, sorry. You have to do start and end frame. And then we'll go to the end frame, which is how we originally presented the temple. Yep. A time lapse of the transformation of the forest. Over the years, the temple becomes a ruin, the forest becomes overgrown, and a dimensional portal opens in the sky. And a blue dimensional portal opens in the sky. And I think that's like an interesting way to kind of set up this world a little bit more. Have like a video that's focused on like where the world was and then what the world became. And you may be looking at what I'm doing and being like, what's going on? Like, do you have like a story in mind? Is this for like a particular project? But honestly, I think this is like a fun form of play. You know, I don't necessarily have to turn this into like a YouTube video. I mean, technically, it's being turned into a YouTube video right now because I'm live streaming myself making it on YouTube. But you get what I mean. This is something that I can just like do for fun. I can share it with you. In the past, I did a poll. It didn't get a lot of votes. I think only like one person voted on the poll. And the thing that was voted for was a behind the scenes. People wanted to see what it was like for me to like make stuff on stream. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm doing a kind of behind the curtain. Here's how I'll like think through creative ideas. It is a very close-up look at everything. And I think it did do a good job because you see so little of the temple. Some of the like little details from before aren't as apparent here. And that is fine. It's interesting that some of the flowers and stuff that grow in after the portal opens. It kind of shows that the portal kind of like breathed new life into the area. I don't think it necessarily looks like a time lapse per se. It kind of looks like as the portal opened, the environment rapidly shifted. Instead of this being like a shift over time, it seems like the portal itself is like speeding up things. which I think is really fascinating. There are ideas that we can play with that. Let's just say that. So now that we have some more like world building stuff in here, I think we can play around with having this character in the old environment. I don't have a reference of him. I mean, I kind of do and I kind of don't have a reference of him without the sword because he doesn't have the sword in these like initial shots where he's under the tree. But I'm trying to figure out how I would want to set up the video. I think it'd be ingredients to video. And then we could start it with him meditating under the tree. And then we can have how it looked when it was like new versus how it looked overgrown. But then we would have no reference for his sword, right? Is what I would kind of want. Because I think you can only attach 3. Yeah, you can only attach 3 at most. So as he is meditating, a blue vortex of energy forms in the sky and startles him. The world quickly becomes overgrown as beautiful temples become ruins. An aura of blue energy forms around him as a glowing blue energy scimitar forms in his grasp. That's a lot. That's a lot to try and like throw at it all at once. We'll see how much it actually does of that, and if we like the output or not. But yeah, I just think this is like a fun way to like play. I do not know how to draw traditionally. If you were to see me draw like in Microsoft Paint or something, it would be like little doodles. And even with the little doodles, I wouldn't be able to make all of this quickly, even within my own style. And you may be like, what's the point of doing it quickly? Isn't the fun like just making the thing? What's cool about this is the iteration, right? Because I'm going from, I just have like a little idea that I'm playing with. Like it all started with just this, like, oh, the character popped in my head, boop. And then instead of spending like all my time just trying to make this, and what I would make in something like Microsoft Paint would be like a pale comparison to this. I couldn't make it look like this. But I go from this to, let me do like another thing with him. Let me do like more stuff with him. Let me like play around with it. It created a background that I originally didn't think of. That background is interesting. What's the story behind the background? Let me play around with the background and things of that nature. The fact that I can like generate it quickly not only allows me to just like have something that I can show people, but also something that I myself can take inspiration from and build upon and develop the character from just a cool, drawing thing into a fully fledged story. The story is like an emergent property of the iterative play.
The storm! It's returning! No! It's already here! The storm!
That was pretty bad.
Returning! No! It's already here!
And then he becomes a blue guy with like a crazy looking curved blade thing. Yeah, no, that was a pretty bad generation. Some of this is cool though. So when he looks up and like the portal forms above him, I actually don't hate that. I could probably use that to do something. So that's another thing that's cool. I can save that particular frame and use that for like a future project thing. A matter of fact, let's take the prompt that we used here and then let's change it from an ingredients to a frame to frame. Let's change the first frame to this. Let's get rid of the last frame. And then what would be a good last frame? Because we might be able to actually use a frame we already have. I think it'll be wild to see it try to stitch these two things together. And let's just see how it goes. This could legitimately be awesome, or this could be another like kind of wonky generation. But the wonky generations aren't like completely unsalvageable or something. It's possible to like take that one shot that we got from it of like, oh, now we have the portal forming above him and use that as fuel for this generation that we're currently working on. But yeah, I hope you guys find stuff like this interesting and fun. And if you don't worry, because now we're getting close to like the second half because I normally film for like an hour. What? What? Hold up a second. Hold up a second. Press the presses. Dun 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 dun. Fusion Fall 2? Fusion Fall 2? Let's talk about the Cartoon Network game renaissance that's currently going on. Do. I know this feels like a totally different video now. So recently on the stream, I played TKO, which is like an old browser Cartoon Network fighting game that fans have brought back from the dead. So I was like, okay, this is cool. At first I wasn't very good at TKO. I hadn't read through all the controls. Once I read through the controls, I formed a better strategy, and I was kicking butt in TKO. If you want to see that, that was in yesterday's stream. So definitely check out yesterday's stream. But then I learned that Project Exonaut has also been revived by fans. So I'm like, that's cool. I'm excited to maybe play around with Project Exonaut. That's another Cartoon Network MMO, similar to how Fusion Fall was an MMO, but it had more like mech suit stuff. So it was kind of like TKO. You could say Fusion Fall and TKO have a baby. Maybe you could say Project Exonaut fits that. I don't know. I think that sounds right to me off the dome. Anywho, Fusion Fall already is a game that fans have brought back. So I already know that there are like servers that you can go to where you can go and like play Fusion Fall. But Fusion Fall 2, I didn't know that there was like a fan like sequel that was in development. But that is really hype. And I want to, for one, I'm going to follow this because this is neat. I'm a little thrown. So why is this guy from like 15 minutes ago calling Fusion Fall 2 AI slop? What makes it AI slop? Do. As you guys probably know by now, I'm fairly pro AI. So even if this game uses AI, I'm not going to be like mad at it. To be honest, looking at this card, I didn't even get the impression that it was an AI card. Like, this art doesn't look bad. This art reminds me of the Fusion Fall art. Also, do people not like nice things? Like, so if you're someone who wants Fusion Fall 2 to be a thing and you're excited for the fact that fans trying to bring Fusion Fall, a beloved Cartoon Network MMO, back, not just back, but like a sequel to it, why would your first response be AI slop? Is that really what you want the creators of this game to like see as the first and only comment on their thing, that to me is like so upsetting. If I could give a downvote, I'd give a downvote. If I say that, it could be misconstrued. I'm going to instead just say something positive. I'm excited for this. The card art looks good, and I am interested in seeing what the new story direction would be for a Fusion Fall sequel. Man, it really does grind my gears. The idea that people can't be like supportive of other people creating things. Not just other people creating things, but other people creating things like for the greater community or whatever. Fusion Fall is an MMO. This person isn't creating this in a vacuum just for themselves. They're creating it for people who maybe have been waiting for years for something like a Fusion Fall 2 to come out. And now that we like finally have something tangible, this is someone actively playing around in the UI. They really wanted the only comment to be AI slop. That's so annoying. That's so annoying. Okay, we have our generation. Let's see how wonky. The transition is really wild. Maybe this works if he gets pulled into the portal. Because we're almost to something like pretty cool with this one. We're not too far off from what I was trying to do. So we're going to reuse the prompt. I want to change the end frame from the one where he's jumping, which is a cool dynamic frame. But I think we could do something a little bit simpler, simply due to the complexity of everything else going on, and just have him kind of standing on the lily pad. And we can say, as he is meditating, a blue vortex of energy forms in the sky and startles him. The vortex transports him to a world that is overgrown. I didn't have to write overgrown again. That is overgrown and ancient. An aura of blue energy forms around him as a glowing blue energy scimitar forms in his grasp. As he appears on a lily pad in a massive swamp. Okay, so we're kind of taking these two frames that we have made and we're trying to create like a narrative across the frames. We're trying to make it clear, like this is where he starts and this is how he gets to this end point. I think that'll be helpful. They change his eye color like multiple times throughout. When he summons the sword, I think that's cool. Like this, he almost like snatches it out of the air. I think that's kind of dope. I wonder if it will let me. I mean, one thing that I can do for sure is scrub. We have the hand kind of blurred in motion. And then we have him with the sword in position. So then from these two frames, we can take this one and this one pretty easily. he channels his blue energy aura through his body and concentrates it into a glowing blue energy scimitar construct. Let's see. Exciting, tense, dramatic action sequence. Trying to set a mood with it. Okay, let's see how this one goes. It's interesting. I kind of like what it did, and then I think it goes on for a little too long, and he looks dopey in that last frame. And I'm like, did he just look dopey in the original last frame I supplied? I don't know. Because, like, him getting essentially, like, beam zapped, like, this transition is actually really clean. Of him getting, like, portaled over. I like his landing. I'm going to grab this, like, the hands on the knees. I like him holding the sword up. That's just, like, a cool picture. That could be the cover of something. I think his transition into that pose where one eye kind of becomes a lazy eye, he doesn't fully look at the viewer in that last frame. That's the only thing I don't really like about that. I maybe would change the last frame to this one. That one right there. I think that would be really cool. Dismiss, dismiss. Those little pop-ups can kind of get annoying, the way that they form. Okay, so this is one that we know we're not going to use. So I think we can trash that one. I think we can hit the reuse. He doesn't have Wonk Eye in our original last frame. So that's a little annoying. That's fine. And I think we don't really have to change the prompt that much other than just changing the last frame to a new last frame. Okay, let's see him channel it. Is the sword bigger when he first summons it? I like that he goes, he like puts his hands together first. This is actually pretty clean. I like this. It does make me think of Bleach a little bit. I know in Bleach they don't summon their swords, but when he puts that hand together, it makes me think Onkai, and then like he like summons the blade. That's not bad. That's not bad. Me like. While we're generating another one, I'm going to hop back onto Twitter. Gonna make sure I like this. Okay, let me jump back to foil because I see this generation is finished. It's pretty smooth. I think it's hard to illustrate that he's being like sucked into a portal. He kind of turns blue and then everything like fades around him. I don't hate it. Like this, for the most part, portrays what I want. But I kind of like how the other one had a beam of like blue light shoot down from the portal. So I'm going to put that in the prompt directly. A beam of blue light shoots down from the vortex. And it's kind of like a tractor beam. And pulls him into the vortex. So I'm going to specifically say a tractor beam. And let's see how clean of a video generation we can get. of that. Also, when he first gets portaled over, and we get to see there's like another sword forming. It's a little more subtle than the other one that we made. I love how the blade is like actively animating. It's not just a blue blade, it like sizzles and stuff. That's really cool. I don't think we have a very clean frame that we can grab from of him summoning the blade this time. And he actually does it very quickly. No blade, blade. But that is neat. That is neat. I do like that one for the most part. There's a new OpenAI podcast for all my like fellow OpenAI AI heads. Do you guys watch the OpenAI podcast? I watch a bunch of AI podcasts, but I don't really look at the official one at all. Let's do a reaction to the new Harry Potter trailer since that's out. Probably hip with the kids. So if this is a show and it's meant to be like the whole Harry Potter series, right? Going from the beginning to the end, I could see you saying the series is Harry Potter series name, that's the whole series name, season 1, The Philosopher's Stone. I think if you say it like that, it makes more sense. But if they're going to name each show after a book, then it's kind of weird because it's like you're saying that it's like several shows. Like, are you guys going to make 7 shows? Because that seems odd. They should just all be seasons. But yeah, and I mean, even this says the first trailer for the Harry Potter series. That's all they should call it. They should just call it Harry Potter. If they wanted it to be something that they could expand into other stuff, they could have called it like Wizarding World or something. I know that may sound corny, but they do have like the Fantastic Beast. There's other stuff in the like greater expanded Harry Potter universe. So that you could have had like a super generic name and then season 1 Philosopher's Stone, move through it however you want to move through it. But calling it Harry Potter is fine. I just don't think the whole series should be called Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone because that seems really odd just to me. Let's jump back to Flow and see how this generation went. We got the beam. He gets sucked into the vortex. He summons the sword. Okay, this is a clean generation showing him getting like transplanted into like the other world with the ruined temples and the overgrown swamp and everything. This is essentially what we've been like trying to build. So that's cool. We can delete this generation now. It wasn't even like that bad of a generation. We just didn't really need it. And I think we can delete this generation now. This is yeah, this one was like almost fine. It has like a weird last frame. Yo, Ray King, it's good to have you. It's been a minute. How you been? Don't forget to smash that like button, by the way. Truly appreciate it. Have you been? What have you Have you been? What have you been up to recently? And what would you like to talk about on the stream? There's like an interactive Hangout, ask me anything kind of stream. So it really is built around like us like having a conversation, a back and forth. I keep my eye on the live chat the whole time. And when I'm not actively talking, thank you for hitting the like button. Truly appreciate it. When I'm not actively talking, I'm just kind of playing around. So I've been creating this character. He is a frog. He has blue energy powers that he can use to summon his like shimmering blue energy scimitar blade. I made some concept art of him. I expanded on like what his world looks like, and I decided that this is what his new world looks like. So the original world, and I made a video of it. Let me pull up the video showing the world transformation. So yeah, it's like original world, and then like this blue vortex forms, and everything around gets twisted and overgrown, and it turns into ruins. So he gets like transported to like this other land, and this is like how the land like shifts around him and everything. And as a part of him getting transported, he now can channel this blue energy through his body, which then allows him to summon the scimitar sword. And I do have like a peaceful scene of just him meditating with his blue energy. And then I also have a action sequence of him running around, leaping across the surface tension of the water. Let's see. Ray King said, "Well, yo, yeah, it's been a good little minute. Really was focusing on my photography and stuff. Also, I didn't want to ask, is your new content like making comics? So I went through a phase where I was making a bunch of comics, and that was like the main thing that I was doing for real, for real. I moved on from doing a lot of the comic stuff to doing a lot of like vibe coding. So my like career is that I'm an application developer. I make like software. But now as a hobby, I've been making software like significantly more, like apps just for myself. And that's been a lot of fun. I've gotten a lot of demand from people saying like I need to do streams again. And it's been a long time since I regularly streamed. As you know, I used to stream every single day back in college. Well, the new stream schedule is back. I am now live streaming Monday through Thursday around 2 p.m. Central Time each day. And I try to stream for about an hour or so. Yesterday, I streamed for like 2 hours. I can't guarantee that I'll always do 2 hours, but the game plan is Monday through Thursday, 2 p.m. Central, around an hour. I might stream on Fridays, but I can't guarantee that because on Fridays I hang out with my dad. Ray King said, also, this is low key cool. Thank you. I appreciate it. One thing that I've been talking about throughout the stream is that I am not skilled with like traditional like drawing. I've tried when I was a kid, I used to make comics all the time where I would like draw my comics, but I never had like super good drawing skills. I even took an art class in high school, and I think I got a little bit better, but I don't think I got to the level that I want to be. So if I were to open up like Microsoft Paint right now, I could try to make something like this, but it would take me a really long time. But with tools like this, can I make this quickly? Which a lot of people would be like, well, what's the point of making it quickly? Isn't the fun making the thing? The fun to me is the iteration process. You know, you start with a simple idea because this character just randomly popped into my head during the day. But then you take that simple idea and you go, well, what would concept art for this look like? And I played around with this. And then I was like, well, what is his world like? And I started playing around with that. And then I was like, well, let's see like a scene of the character. What does the character look like in this habitat? And then over time, it goes from this like character idea to a full blown story. But I'm able to like build that story from like scene to scene, idea to idea, like boom, 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 boom. And it just kind of builds upon itself. So a lot of what you're seeing here, I made during the last like 50 minutes or so during the stream, just kind of letting my imagination run with what's going on. Ray King said, yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic was top tier. So I used to stream Yu-Gi-Oh! A ton. I'm not sure if I did a lot of Magic the Gathering content, to be honest. I have not been the biggest fan of Magic the Gathering. And the only real reservation that I have about Magic the Gathering is that I'm so used to Yu-Gi-Oh! And how Yu-Gi-Oh! Does like battles as well as resource management that I don't like mana as a concept. I don't really like mana being like a type of card in your deck. I prefer things like Marvel Snap, where you get like energy each turn, but it's not something that you have to like draw from your deck. And I don't like the idea of strength and toughness or whatever. Like the idea that you have one stat for how strong you are, and then one stat for how much damage you can take for the individual monsters. I kind of prefer that if I don't like having to keep track of like the individual health of the individual monsters. I think that's a little bit overkill. But those are really my only reservations with Magic the Gathering. Like if Magic the Gathering didn't have the mana system in the same vein, and you didn't have to keep track of like the individual monster health, I think I would like it a little bit more. There was a Magic the Gathering mobile game that I played for a little bit that was similar to Marvel Snap that I did like. I don't remember what that was called though. Uh, I eventually fell off of that. I think largely because I was just playing Marvel Snap more than I was playing that game. But I thought that game was cool while I was like actively playing around with it. Also, I see we have 2 viewers and 1 like. Can we get it to 2 viewers and 2 likes? Also, welcome to the stream. This is like a conversational hangout stream, so feel free to post in the live chat. I'm actively having a conversation with the viewers. That's what it's all about. Ray King said, I was going to say you would like Shadowverse, but the toughness and etc. is in it. Man, I think I tried Shadowverse while I was in college. My friend Matt at the time was like, "Yo, you gotta like give it a try." I do like anime style card games. I think Shadowverse now has its own anime, but I don't think I've tried it. I was spending a ton of money on subscriptions, and a lot of the subscriptions that I had, I wasn't really using. And I recently unsubscribed from a bunch of them, including Crunchyroll. I would use Crunchyroll like every blue moon when like a new season of a thing would come out, and then I would like dive headfirst into the season. And Jujutsu Kaisen was one of my big shows that would pull me back into Crunchyroll and be like, oh, I gotta like watch Jujutsu Kaisen. The new Jujutsu Kaisen season is out, and it just didn't grab me the same way. I don't know. I think maybe the reason why I wasn't as like enthralled by this season of Jujutsu Kaisen is because I know so much of what happens like from this point forward that I'm not really surprised by the show. Like I already kind of know the story, and now there's like a new Jujutsu Kaisen manga that takes place like in the future, and I've read a little bit of that. So I feel like the show feels less relevant to me now. But if I hadn't have unsubscribed from the Crunchyroll subscription, maybe I would check out the Shadowverse anime and see if I like that. Ray King said it does have its own anime, low key good. It has its own Nintendo game as well. Oh, I did not know about the Nintendo game. So I guess it's on the Switch. That's neat. I do think that's cool. Also, you can't get it right now, but I have another tab open where I'm like browsing through Twitter. So what I've been doing on this stream is I've been jumping back and forth between generating stuff within Flow of the frog character. Also, feel free to recommend names for the frog character. I have not named them as of yet, but I've been jumping in between Flow, messing with the frog character, and Twitter, where I'll see something pop up on Twitter and it kind of gives commentary. I kind of want to talk about this. This is from the administrator of NASA. This is like a big thing that's been happening very, very recently. But apparently, we want to set up a moon base. So with the new administration coming in, there was a big push for us to like go to Mars, and that was like something they promised. And I kind of shrugged my shoulders and said, whatever. You know, I don't really think Mars is something that's going to happen anytime soon. Like for us to like have people on Mars, simply because it's like a huge endeavor to undertake. But from what I can tell, NASA, especially within like the last 24 to 48 hours, has been really pushing that we're going to have like a permanent moon base. NASA wants us to just like straight up have astronauts that stay on the moon the same way that we have astronauts that stay on like the International Space Station or like the ISS. I think that's really fascinating. And it sounds like the moon base is supposed to be the proving ground for us to then do a Mars base. Like once we feel confident that we can do the moon thing, we're going to do the Mars thing. And apparently NASA has announced that they're going to try to do a Mars mission by like 2028, and that they're trying to do like moon stuff like as soon as possible. I honestly don't know how I feel about it. I think it's neat, like simply the concept that we could have humans, out in the solar system, not just in space continuously, like on the ISS, but actually like on the moon and on Mars. But I don't really know what the like greater value of it is. Like it's like really cool and it's really sci-fi, and maybe they can make some kind of like scientific discoveries while they're out there, actively working on stuff. There is like a sample on Mars that was collected where we believe that it could have microbial life in it. And there was a lot of debate about if they send the sample to Earth for it to be like studied and verified, if the sample gets contaminated, it could like ruin the whole thing. So maybe it would be better for us to send someone to Mars specifically for that. But that isn't really like a base thing. That's like a specific mission. Like the idea of the mission would be go analyze the sample without worrying about like Earth contaminant stuff. Because instead of bringing it to Earth, you bring the scientists to the sample and then just confirm like whether or not there actually is microbial life in it or not. And then you could probably dip after that. I mean, once you get the confirmation that there's life in it, you could take it, but that almost like defeats the purpose. I don't know. But I think it's neat that we're trying to set up bases on other like planetary bodies and like the moon in the solar system. But I don't fully get it. I don't fully get it. Part of it just feels like we're doing it to do it. And there's nothing wrong with that, I guess. Shrug. But that's my 2 cents on that. Let's see. So before I jump back into doing like news commentary stuff, you mentioned that Shadowverse had its own Nintendo game. So let's play around with that concept a little bit here. Transitioning to image generation. And then we're going to take this and say, make retro video game box art for this character. And let's see what it comes up with. So while it's generating that, I'll browse through Tweetor. This happened earlier today, so I wouldn't mind talking about it a little bit. So a robot walked through the White House today and gave like a very short, brief. It didn't say a lot. It more or less said, "I'm happy that like AI and robotics are going to be used in education," and then I think it said "thank you" in like several different languages, and that was about it. This is another one of those things that's very like sci-fi-esque. Seeing a robot walk through the White House and then talk to a bunch of people in like an auditorium is neat, I guess, but it's not really that crazy. Like I'm excited that the world feels so futuristic, and that we're doing things like trying to set up moon bases, and that we're having like robots speak at the White House and things of that nature. But it's the beginning of things. I think it'll be a lot crazier when instead of a robot talking about how robots and AI will be used in education, if it was a video of a robot teaching in an American school or helping out with like a project in an American school, that would be crazier rather than just like an announcement of that kind of thing. And us actually being on the moon in a moon base or on Mars in a Mars base or something would also be like cooler. We're still in like the preliminary phase, and maybe I'm just kind of reserving some level of judgment so that I don't like overhype myself on something that we don't end up fully going through with. Like at the moment, this is still kind of just talk. I want to see it happen. That's like my response to that. Okay, ooh. So it went with Nintendo, Capcom, and Game Pack. So it put a whole bunch of different brands on it, but it said Frog Blade Chronicles. Not bad, not bad. I don't hate it. Ray King said, I have been having dreams low-key about this anime concept I'm trying to make. Hot take, zombie apocalypse or robot takeover? Okay, so multiple things going on here. I'd love to hear more about your dreams. You were asking earlier about whether or not my content had transformed into comics. So a lot of what I was doing before on the channel was this dream anime project. You guys probably can't see it well, but this shirt, as well as like all the shirts that I like wear in my normal wardrobe rotation, are custom shirts that I made of dream characters of mine. So I have a dream wiki. I had a dream comic series that I was doing for a while. And I even had a dream anime series. There's like a whole playlist of like dream anime episodes on this channel if you want to check it out. I also was doing dream tunes where I was making songs based on each and every one of my dreams. I love dream art. I love talking about dreams. I think it's cool that you've been wanting to turn your dreams into an anime. That's a common interest between us, and it's something that I was doing for a while. I think part of the reason why I fell off on making the dream anime content is one, I got really into vibe coding and making my own applications. And even now, that has eaten a lot of my time. I spend like hours and hours a day coding, not only for my job, but then like coding for myself to where now I go to bed later. Sometimes I go to bed at like 11 or even like after midnight because I'm just like so focused on like making stuff. And it's fun. I'm not like suffering doing it, but it left very little time for me to work on my dream anime stuff. So I kind of had to put the dream anime stuff on the back burner. I'm still having lucid dreams every night. That's something that started last summer in May. I finally figured out how to like consistently lucid dream, and that's what really helped to fuel a lot of the dream art. So even with my really wonky sleep schedule, I'm still lucid dreaming every night, which is awesome. And I'm still keeping up a dream wiki, but I'm no longer doing my like dream anime specifically, which also has freed me up to kind of reevaluate the status of the YouTube channel and to shift it back into the live streams that people want and have wanted for a while. So good to be back. Good to be back. So I would love to hear about your dream anime concept because I am all about dream anime. I even have a dream anime hoodie that I wear when it's like cold outside and everything. And there is merch. I do have like a store where I had a bunch of like dream anime merchandise and stuff that people could buy. I essentially made it a franchise. But I kind of have moved on from that, but I still love dreams. I still love talking about dreams. So if you ever want to talk about dreams and talk about like your dream anime concept, I'd be down to talk about that more. In regards to zombie apocalypse or robot takeover, so Rap King was on the channel yesterday during the live stream, and Rap King asked me if I thought robots would take over the world. And my answer to him is that a lot of people use AI now in order to make important decisions. And it's not just like, ma and pop down the street use AI to decide what groceries to buy or something. Politicians and like political figures are using AI to make important decisions like right now. And if they're delegating their decisions to an AI that then tells them what they should or shouldn't do, and then if their decision that they make with the AI impacts all of us, then isn't that essentially the AI, like controlling the world in a way? It's not that like the political figure is like a robot or something. It's not like a robot king or a robot president or a robot dictator. But if the like human king or the human president or even a human dictator is just kind of like doing whatever an AI tells them to do, then that's kind of like the unofficial robot takeover. And rather than that being sci-fi, that's just kind of the world that we live in right now. So if it's between like a zombie apocalypse or robot takeover, I'd say robot takeover, but it maybe doesn't look the way that like movies portray it. Nerd Tanker, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. Don't forget to smash that like button. Welcome, welcome. Right now, we're just talking in general, having a conversation, hanging out, and I'm glad that you're here to join the hangout as well. I've been playing around with Frogblade, which is this character that I created in Flow, and I've been just kind of iterating on this idea across the stream. So that's been a lot of fun. And we started talking about some news stuff. So I'm jumping back and forth between playing around with Frogblade and playing around with the news. Ray King said, I got lore, but it's a little long. So give me a second to summarize. Understood. I'm excited to hear your lore. So to fill in Nerd Tanker, Ray King has been having dreams that he wants to turn into an anime. And I brought up that I, for a while, was doing dream anime. It was like a legitimate project that I've been working on. So I had like a comic. songs. I had like a dream anime series that you can still find on YouTube. You can still watch all the dream anime stuff that I made. I have a wiki, and I'm still supporting the wiki and adding new content to that over time. I made a bunch of merchandise. The shirt that I'm wearing right now is like a dream anime shirt. So I'm super stoked to hear that there's another person who has interesting dreams, who wants to turn those dreams into an anime. I think that's really cool. So that's the current hot topic. Have you had any cool dreams recently, Nerd Tinker? Let's see. Jumping back onto Twitter to see if there are any topics worth talking about. I talked about this yesterday, but I'll talk about it again. Arc AGI 3. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Do I have thoughts on Arc AGI 3? So I don't like Arc AGI. Arc AGI is something that's like a pet peeve of mine and has been for a while. Arc AGI exists to be a test to see whether or not AI systems qualify as AGI. Arc AGI 1 became saturated, which means that AI models got to the point where they could easily pass it. So what did they do? They created Arc AGI 2. They moved the goalpost. Instead of saying that we essentially like hit AGI because it passed the AGI test, we just made a new AGI test. And now AI is getting good at Arc AGI 2, where they're like getting closer and closer to just passing Arc AGI 2. So what do? Instead of saying, oh, well, I guess we achieved AGI, they passed the AGI test, they're just making Arc AGI 3. And they're just making another AGI test and saying, look, AI isn't AGI because it hasn't passed the AGI test. But I'm like super annoyed by that because it feels like you'll never just say it's AGI if you always kick the can slightly down the road and make another test. So that's my gripe with Arc AGI. Really hate it as a concept. And I don't even hate it as a concept. I would accept Arc AGI as a concept if we said, here is the definitive test. And if AI passes the test, it is AGI. But you can't keep changing the test because by changing the test, you're changing the definition of what AGI is. You're just constantly like shifting it because you just, I guess, don't want it to be AGI. That's the only solution that I can think of is you're either saying that your original tests were bad or you're saying that like AI can just never be AGI as long as I can just make another test, which I guess is true, but it feels artificially true. Nerd Tinker said, so I've been keeping up to date with the Resident Evil franchise, and a lot of people are asking the question of which alternative game apocalypse would Leon Kennedy survive? That's an interesting question. I'm trying to think of like games that I've played that have like an apocalyptic setting. So I'm not actually the biggest post-apocalyptic guy, for real, for real. My dad loves like Mad Max post-apocalyptic fiction stuff, but that's not a lot of what I personally dabble into. Is Hunger Games post-apocalyptic or is it just dystopian? I think Hunger Games might just be dystopian. It's not post-apocalyptic. But specifically game universes, because Hunger Games has game in the title, but it's not a universe. What games do I play that are in like a post-apocalypse? Because like I'm saying, I don't really fool around with that genre too much. Specifically zombie apocalypses. Okay, well that narrows it down a little bit. I have not played a lot of zombie games. So I guess I gotta come out. I gotta make a confession. I'm not the biggest fan of zombies as a thing. So this is like another thing where my dad really likes it, but I'm not a big fan. My dad has read all of the Walking Dead comics. He really loved the Walking Dead series. Robert Kirkman, the guy who writes Walking Dead, is a comic creator that my dad and I both really like, but for different reasons. I really like Invincible and the Astounding Wolfman, which were also made by Robert Kirkman. Dad likes Invincible and he likes Walking Dead. I don't know how much he liked Astounding Wolfman or not. I'm a fan though. But zombies to me have always been somewhat uninteresting. You can make cool zombies, which a lot of games and stuff do. They like reinvent the zombie idea. So you have like fast zombies, you have acid spitting zombies, like all these different things. But at a certain point, that just makes them kind of generically monsters in a way. And at that point, just make them monsters. They don't even have to be zombies or whatever. I just think zombies are not really that interesting to me personally. Let's see. Nerd Tinker said like Dead Island, Left 4 Dead, Last of Us, stuff like that. I haven't played Dead Island, Left 4 Dead, or Last of Us. Those are all familiar names. Like I've heard all of those names before, but I don't have a lot of experience with them. I think some of the most time I've spent, even with Resident Evil, is through stuff like Marvel versus Capcom, where those characters are just in that game, but it's not a quote unquote like Resident Evil game. So I don't have a lot of experience with zombie games. I think in part because I don't know, the genre just hasn't like captured my imagination for real. But it does give me an idea for something that I can do right now. So here, this tab. Let's see what he would look like as a zombie. That could be neat. Or we could even show him fighting zombies. That could be even cooler. So let's go into video, ingredients. Let's go for this aspect ratio. We're going to get a good character reference of him. Where do we want him to start? He's going to be fighting zombies. Do we want him to start on a lily pad if he's fighting zombies? It'd be interesting if he was meditating and then zombies like approached him and then he had to like summon his scimitar to fight off the zombies. That's like a whole scene right there. Okay. While meditating under the cherry blossom tree, he is suddenly ambushed by an attacking zombie. He leaps away. There's a notification. You guys can't see it was blocking me. Okay. He leaps away from the zombie and summons an aura of blue energy that he shapes into a shimmering scimitar in order to ward off the zombie. Let's see if that works or not. I actually have no idea if it will. Also, I like that I have him meditating under the cherry blossom tree, but maybe it would be worthwhile to also include some reference art so that it has more views of the character. So I'll include this reference, see if that helps at all. Nerd Tinker said, well, regardless, in the latest Resident Evil, a bit of spoilers, spoiler alert, Resident Evil, for anyone who's interested in that, Leon fights a clone of Wesker while infected by a virus that is killing him and still held his own. That's a feat. That's a feat, power scaling. So now you can say a weakened Leon is at least at the level of, I would say a weakened Leon is definitely at the level of Wesker, I guess, based on that. So that's good. You could say that he's like stronger than Wesker. Ray King said, I might be sending multiple messages, so bear with me. Also, this lore is so, I think you meant to say new. I didn't exist in the dream yet, if that makes sense. This lore, so note, I didn't exist in the dream. Is this like a dream you had where you like saw a world, but you're not in the world, you're like an observer of the world? Is that what you're trying to say? I have dreams like that sometimes. The dream that I had last night was of Earth Q, which is like an alternate Earth where there are like monsters and dragons and superheroes. And a lot of the dream was me learning about the world and exploring it, and less like I'm a superhero too. It's more like you're on like another Earth in another reality kind of thing. Ray King said, yes. Okay, cool. I like that you also have these world exploration dreams. It's cool just to be able to talk about dreams with people in general. Nerd Tanker said, what's hilarious is this isn't the first time Leon has been infected. It's his second or third time. How does Leon keep recovering? Is there like a cure in universe? Also, I see that we have 2 viewers and 1 like. Can we get the video up to 2 viewers and 2 likes? Truly appreciate it. Ray King said, I come in like in 2030. 2030? So there's like a future world. We're getting some hints on what it'll be like. Also, our zombie generation.
Thanks!
Weird. that's my first thought. Okay, so he starts meditating. The zombie looks like it's in a completely different visual style. I do like this as a frame. So let's save that frame. I think it made it look more like a video game. Like even Frogblade looks like a CGI character. He's giving him such a curious expression in this frame. But I think we can use those frames to have Frogblade battle the zombie. Because I think this video looks really dopey. Actually, I think there's another frame we can grab from this. Okay. I think when the blade is forming in his hand, I think we already have a good shot of that, though. Nah. I don't know. I think we have a good enough frame. I think we have good enough frames. These 2 frames are good. I think I can use this one. He fights off an attacking horde of zombies in a cherry blossom orchard using his glowing blue energy scimitar. Exciting, dynamic, 2D anime action sequence. Cool. And I think we can get rid of this initial one. Okay, so hopping back in, Ray King said, the world starts off with 2 beings, Sandman and Nightmare. Ooh, it's a dream that has like dream-related characters already in it. I'm already excited. They give dreams to humans and other creatures, showing messages and signs as yin and yang. We also got some Eastern philosophy, mythology stuff in here as well. And I guess you could even see that as like Sandman and Nightmare representing the 2 sides of the yin and yang. Cool, vibing with it. But since Sandman showed the good and Nightmare showed the bad and faults of people, humans preferred Sandman, making Nightmare envious and angry. Makes sense. Also, I can tell that it's going to mess this up. It definitely looks like it messed this up, so I'm going to have to try this video again. But I like where you're going so far. I'm curious how we're going to get to 2030 with because you got like a timeline going on. So this is going to be interesting. Nerd Tanker said the first time he gets infected, talking about Leon from Resident Evil again, the first time he gets infected by Las Plagas, it's more of a symbiote he got and removed with a laser. As for the most recent time, there is a cure. Well, a symbiote just sounds cool. That just sounds like a power, the symbiote one. So this was a pretty lame generation because it doesn't even look like him. So let's change this up. I say we put in multiple images of him and the zombie, if we can help it. Surely we have another image of the zombie. They're not all in like a clean order. Because I feel like the other zombie image should be around here. But I don't see it. Weird. Also, we have so much reference art. to where I feel like it should have done a better job. The humanoid blue frog warrior, to try and keep it from making him a human like it did, which was really gross. I know I have 2 images of him fighting the zombie, so it's so weird that it doesn't show it. But whatever. Oh, I'm getting a call from my apartment complex. I'm going to screen the call and see what they say. So give me one moment. I'm sorry. Because this could be important. If it is, I might have to hop off. So let's see what they're going to say. Interesting. Okay, I will hop off for now. Thank you guys for watching. The Joe's Friendly Boy. Sorry to end so abruptly. Jump like one only. Logging out. Peace, guys. Check it out. Do 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 do.